Hi everyone, I'm Dan Litwin, and today we're going to be making Filipino adobo. Now, Filipino adobo is one of my favorite dishes. It's truly a classic, chicken over rice, and it's actually quite versatile and relatively simple. So, really, it's just marinated chicken over rice, and the marinade really consists of soy sauce, cane vinegar. I use Silver Swan brand. It's a Filipino brand. It's very good. It's not too sour. It's a little bit sweet, and then you also add whole black peppercorns to the marinade as well. So you're really supposed to marinate it for about 20 minutes. Whole black peppercorns are the best. You can use ground pepper, but whole peppercorns are really the best here. And adobo is one of those dishes. It's very simple. It's very famous in the Philippines. It's widely regarded as the national dish, and there's numerous variations of it. It's very versatile, so there's so many different types of it across the provinces. That you can add coconut milk, you can add pork to it, so it's really quite an interesting dish. There's dozens on the regional level as well, varieties, and really every household kind of makes it a little bit differently, but there's still some very key ingredients that you need, like the soy sauce, the garlic, the vinegar, and a stewing process. So I'm really excited to get cooking, so let's go make some adobo. The first step in adobo is we're going to add our garlic to the pan and let it get nice and toasty. As you can see here, I already pre-cut the garlic into I used 4, but you can use as many as you want really. It was just a rough chop. So here, as you can see, is our wonderful garlic. Oh, look at that. It looks so nice. And we're just going to get it nice and cooked. We're just going to imbue some of that flavor into the oil. After we let it get like this for a little bit, then we're going to add our chicken, and we're really going to brown it. So just a few minutes to get the skin nice and brown and crispy. This is my dear friend Will. He's my little sous chef, and we are all going to help and cook. So skin side down, as you can see. There we're going to let it crackle just a little bit and leave it there for a little bit. Alright, well, the adobo has been going for just a little bit, and the skin side I think has been quite nicely browned, so we're going to be very careful, and we're going to flip it. Oh, look at that nice golden color. We should be very careful. This is not flipping. I don't know. And we're only gonna sear it nicely in the pan because we're gonna braise it actually for a bit. So we're not expecting it to be fully cooked at all. Oh, the pan is sliding. I love this. Alrighty, here we go. Now we're cooking. Alright, so our chicken is very nice and browned now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add it to this large pot I've prepared over here. So let us see, how is the best way we're going to do this? Let's put this here first of all. Let's take our wonderful chicken. Oh, and it's escaping me. This is so funny. So we're just going to put it in the pot, and what we're going to do is add the rest of the marinade and whatever was left in the pan, and just a little bit of water to make sure it comes maybe 3/4 of the way the chicken up, so it's just under the skin, so you have enough to braise it. And we're going to braise it in for 30 minutes, 40 maybe, depending on how, until really it's fork tender. It's supposed to be very tender, very delicious chicken. So we're going to add the rest of what was in here, and then also the rest of our marinade. I'll get the little remnants in just a sec. But here, let us see. Let's add this now. Oh, it looks nice. Alrighty. So let's see. It needs a bit more water. Let's just grab a little garlic dish. And we're going to add some water until it's the proper height. I think that should be enough. Alright, now while our adobo is simmering, I'd like to actually talk about my article of choice. And it's called Culture Ingested on the Indigenization of Philippine Food by Barbara Kirschenblatt Gimblet and Doreen G. Fernandez. Now, this is the article I chose for assignment 2, and it's what really started this whole vlog adventure. To really understand the article, it's actually published on JSTOR by Kirschenblatt on the perspective of Fernandez and her Filipino heritage and her interest in culture and food. Now, Fernandez is the real author of the article, so to understand her a bit, here's her biography. She was born in the central Philippines in Silay City in Negros Occidental Province on the island of Negros, and this is in the Visayas, the central Philippines between Luzon and Mindanao. And Fernandez specialized in Philippine studies, specifically in drama, literature, cultural, and culinary history at Ateneo de Manila University. Fernandez eventually became a trustee of the Cultural Center of the Philippines and the Philippine Educational Theater Association. And in this article, her main argument is that Filipino food is a mirror that reflects Filipino society and culture, and that the native dishes have been lovingly preserved, while foreign dishes have been Filipinized, really indigenized to suit Filipino tastes rather than being hybridized. And here's some background knowledge, aside from the article, I love history and geography, so personally I do kind of know that the Philippines has had an extensive history of cultural interaction with other people, sharing common cooking styles, ingredients, dishes, staples to other Southeast Asian peoples, while at the same time the Philippines has been very heavily influenced by Southern Chinese cooking from overseas migrants, and then also from Spanish and American cooking from colonization. And really, to start off the article, Fernandez explores how the original Malay matrix, in its methodology, the native food, and the methods have been preserved, while the foreign dishes have been indigenized and adapted by the locals to suit local taste, and really have been subsumed within the culture. Now, moving on, Fernandez talks about the names of the dishes, specifically the names of the dishes, foreign dishes that have been indigenized. So she starts out with a very famous Filipino dish called pancit. It's a dish that I've grown up with. It's a noodle dish from Fujian province in China. It was brought by Chinese migrants to the Philippines, and it's called Pian e Sit, the original name in Hokkien, and that's the main language spoken in Fujian and then Taiwan and throughout Southeast Asia. That's where most of the overseas Chinese community comes from, that province, and that's the Pian e Sit to Pan Sit. Those are the two names, the original and then the indigenized name. Siu pao are steamed buns with pork, and they're adapted from Hokkien cooking and language as well. The pao in siu pao being derived from bao, Chinese dumplings. And pancit specifically is one of my favorites, and I grew up with it during my childhood, at my grandma and grandpa's house during Thanksgiving. It's coming up actually. Christmas, at birthday parties, fiestas, so it's very familiar. And the pancit, I know, pancit bihon, that variety is made with rice vermicelli, thin rice vermicelli called bihon in Hokkien and bihon in Tagalog. And the dish is really made with those thin rice noodles, usually supplemented with shrimp, sometimes other meat, celery, carrot, shredded cabbage, and usually snow peas as well. And there are other regional variants of pancit, like pancit canton. It has round egg noodles or wheat noodles, kind of like chow mein, and palabok as well. So then really another very famous named dish is adobo, the one that I've decided to create. It really has a marinated with soy sauce, cane vinegar, whole black peppercorns, and it's usually chicken adobo. You can do pork, but chicken is the main meat of choice, and this is one I'm cooking today. And adobo has two original names that are thought to be where it's derived. Adobado is a stewed dish from Mexico, but really Mexican and Filipino adobo are actually quite different. because of their spices and also in their preparation. Filipino adobo is indeed an adobado, a spice stew, but because the vinegar is added, it's an adobo, which is really another name, a pickling sauce from Spain, from Iberia, using olive oil, vinegar specifically, garlic, thyme, laurel, oregano, paprika, salt, and pepper. So thus, Filipino adobo is both a stew and a pickling sauce, combining a spice simmering process and then the pickling from the vinegar. I know adobo, it's my favorite Filipino food, and it's usually considered the national dish. So it's one of those indigenized but also pretty native cuisines that are just ubiquitous. There's so many regional variations. It's delicious. It's my favorite. I grew up with it eating at my grandma's house at home. My mom used to make it just like chicken and rice. She also made rotisserie chicken over rice, and that's my favorite. So chicken and rice, delicious. Chicken skin used to be my favorite food. Oh my goodness, I remember. And now moving back to the article, Fernandez really goes over how the ingredients of the dishes relate to indigenization. So she focuses on here the varieties of pancit, how the basic noodles with meat and vegetables are suited to regional cuisine. Like oysters and squid in coastal areas, pancit balabok has flaked tinapa and crumbled chicharron, and all of these differences and varieties accent a dish of Chinese origin. She also focuses on a dish called bringhe and paella. So paella is from Spain, so it usually has rabbit and or other local meat and it's over a bed of rice. So it's colored from the spice it's used. In paella, it's saffron, so it's yellow. And Fernandez really sums up this sentiment of indigenization, saying that eating paella, therefore, is ingesting the Spanish landscape. Eating bringhe, however, is ingesting the Filipino landscape. The chicken running around the farm, the coconut from a nearby tree, the malangkit from fiesta cakes. This is a clear example of indigenization through a change of substance, spirit, and name. She also goes over the cooking process called pagisagisa. It's like sauteing, so we did that with our adobo. So the original pagisagisa is you put the garlic in first, then you saute it in a bit of oil, then you add your other stuff. So it's sauteing. And then flavoring, you can use bagoong, patis, fermented shrimp paste, and fish sauce to make an acceptable Filipino taste to indigenized dishes. Then there's also social position, like that influences indigenization. So like paella is reserved from parties because it was brought from Spain. It was highly regarded because it was from the colonists. Moving on from social position in terms of indigenization, Fernandez really now turns to the native cuisine of the Philippines, examining staples of Southeast Asian cooking like rice, the common starch in South and East Asian and Asian cooking in general, really, but also specific native ingredients to the Philippines, so like heart of palm, coconut, and then also different agents like bagoong, which is fermented shrimp paste. It's a very common ingredient used throughout the Philippines and in Southeast Asia as well. So shrimp paste in Indonesian is called trasi, and main tom in Vietnam, and as well as fish sauce, which is called patis in Tagalog. So that's really the native element of the indigenization, that the ingredients that are combined with the other really foreign dishes to make them Filipino. And this is where she ends, and really Fernandez continues with a reflection, actually saying something really nice. There's a really nice quote here. The cultural interaction has been one of borrowing whole dishes, then adapting and indigenizing them, rather than borrowing elements to impose on native dishes. The result is a cuisine enriched, rather than bastardized. Its integrity kept, its dynamism that of judicious response to change. I think this really sums up the indigenization of Filipino food really, really well. And I really do think that Filipino cuisine is actually quite dynamic. It's very diverse. The way they indigenized foreign dishes to suit local taste and culture while also staying true to their native roots of like common Malay and Southeast Asian cooking. And with that, let's go see our adobo. I think it's pretty close to done simmering, so let's go try some. Alrighty, well our adobo's done. I put it over a very nice bed of steamed rice and a little bit of the leftover broth on it. It's called sabaw, the sauce in Tagalog and in other Filipino languages. And it's my favorite part to put over rice, and it's just the perfect meal. Oh, that's really good. Let's check the chicken. Oh my goodness. The skin is my favorite part. Oh, it's tender. fortunate. That's how it should be after 34 minutes of braising. That's very nice. Very warm, very salty, a little hint of vinegar, a little sourness, but it's perfect. Oh, that's just wonderful. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoy this Filipino classic as much as I do.